Well, if you're a parent in the state of Indiana, you probably, and every other parent probably does too, regardless of where you are, have one of these, right? Well, the chances are that if you've got kids, even young kids in grade school, the chances are pretty good they've got one of these, right? Let's be honest. Since the days of parents being concerned about what their kids are doing and what things are going on in an emergency, everybody seems to be concerned about making sure they're in communication with their kids. And I guess you can't blame anybody for that. But here in the state of Indiana in 2024, involving schools, a law was passed. And that law says that those cell phones that you give your kids, even your young kids, first, second, third grade, whatever, they can only be utilized uh, they can only be utilized outside of instructional time, which means you go into class, the teacher says, hey, everybody put away their cell phone. Now, does that work? Well, in the beginning, it was kind of a concern because many kids, they don't like being in school. They're just sitting on their cell phone. They're playing, playing games, whatever. But now they're using the deans of schools to come in. The teachers call, and then the dean takes away the student the cell phone, and if the student does it a second time, the student's suspended. And you can understand those rules. But well, a new law has been introduced in Indiana House and in the Senate, both the House and the Senate, that would mandate. I use the word mandate because that's exactly what it says. Mandate that phones be securely stored at school or left at home during the entire school day. Now, you imagine your kid going out. You got a kid, whether he's young, old, high school, grade school, middle school, whatever. You say, Johnny, Susie, leave the phone at home. Not only that, maybe they got a laptop, or maybe they have a smartwatch. Yeah. Under the new potential legislation, if it were to pass, they would not be allowed to have those in school. Now, that bill was introduced in the House by John Tresca, North Liberty, and also introduced in the Senate by a couple of Republican senators, Jeff Ratz and Greg Good, saying that, hey, we're going to ban these things that out of school. They can't bring them to school. They're not allowed. Now, some of you parents are going to say, how dare they do that? I've got to know what my kid is doing. I got to be able to know to contact my kid if I'm going to be late picking him up or her up or whatever. Well, as it turns out, they've done some testing to see if taking away cell phones makes the kids smarter. Well, as it turns out, in that testing, they figured out that scores in math and the scores in English jumped up pretty dramatically. One school they tested. And I mean, it went up severe, 18% to 40%. And English went up a pretty good amount too. And what they have learned is, if you actually talk to students and lecture the students, rather than trying to do the whole thing on a laptop, this whole concept that during the COVID, when they gave every kid a laptop, right? Take it home or e-learning stuff. Kids don't learn that way. People don't learn that way. I mean, let's be honest. We're old enough to know that when we went to school, you had to sit there and listen to the teacher lecturing you. You had to take notes if that's what you did. But the biggest thing is, you got to have one-to-one going on. You got to have someone talking to you, say, here's something you need to know. Well, the idea of taking away the phones, the laptops, and even the smartwatches away from kids is a possibility here in the state of Indiana. I'm not sure if it'll pass in this particular session because it is a short session as compared to the long ones where they do the entire budget. But this short session, will they pass it? Don't know. But right now, most of the educators in school thinks this is a good idea. They like the idea. Now, parents with kids are going to say, no, many of them say, we don't like the idea because we can't reach our kids in an emergency. Now, that's totally understandable based on things that have happened in past years. Where will this bill go? I don't know. Will it be approved? I don't know. But we do know that right now, there is a law in the state of Indiana that during instructional time, you can't have the cell phones. Some schools take it away, put them in lockers or whatever. The problem is you put them in special lock things, they worry about them being stolen. And the other thing is kids tend to be flighty, and some kids forget to take it home. The end of school, what's your phone, Jimmy? Oh, I forgot it at school, Mom. All right, it happens. So Do you want to have phones restricted or cell phones restricted totally from your school where a kid can't bring it? You want them restricted on their laptop, and you want it restricted on their smartwatch? Well, it's up to you. You got to call your representative or your state senator and voice your opinion. But right now, those bills have been introduced. Where they end up is anybody's guess, but it may happen unless you, the citizenry, actually speak up. And now you know.